Hi, I'm Randy Alvarez. Welcome to this week's Randy Alvarez Marketing Report. We're talking about the business of dentistry today. With us, we have the owner and publisher of the hot new magazine, Progressive Dentist, Bonnie Hixson. Welcome to the program, by the way. We've wanted you on the show for quite some time, and through a friend, Rita Zamora, the social media kind of a guru. I call her guru. She doesn't like me to call her that.
I call her that too. She likes it.
Told me to get in contact with you, so we did. Now, you have this new magazine. Big distribution. It's about the business of dentistry. As you say, transitioning, or not transitioning, that bridging the gap between the practice of dentistry and the business of dentistry.
Exactly.
Very interesting. Let's talk about how you got involved in this. Tell me about your background a little bit.
Well, first, I'm so excited to finally be here. I've heard so much from people like Rita Zamora and some others that have worked with you in the past, and I really am glad to be here. So thanks for.
Good. And we're putting you on the spot today. This is a live interview.
I know.
Okay. So, but this should be easy. Telling me a little bit about your background, Trey. Tell me about that.
I've been in the dental industry for 20 years now, and started on the corporate side of dentistry. I've always been involved in that element of dentistry, and was able to take advantage of an opportunity early on. I was a sales and marketing director for a large company. From that,
it's like dental product companies, things like that?
Exactly. It was a dental products and distribution company, clinical products. From there, I started another company with my former partner where we focused on international distribution of dental products. So over the years, I've had an opportunity to meet some of the most influential people in dentistry.
Okay.
From my corporate side of the industry, I have worked as sales and marketing director, owned an international distribution company for a number of years, worked on the technology side of dentistry. So what I observed over the last 20 years is that they're tremendous clinicians. They have all sorts of advanced training and clinically are just ready to go. But there are so many that feel like there's a gap between the practice of dentistry and the business of dentistry.
Yeah, and people that have watched my marketing reports, before know, and I call it the big training lie, that they go and they get all of this training, $30,000, $40,000 worth of training, full mouth courses, etc., and they go back and they can't get the patients to buy into it. Okay.
And the economy is a big situation.
This is going on everywhere. Everybody's challenged with this.
Absolutely. The economy has played big into the profitability and the different experiences that these dentists are going through right now. And so what we're really trying to do is to bridge that gap and to give them a valid and effective resource for managing the business of their practice.
So what is the goal of the magazine? If you had to say, okay, the goal of this magazine, the purpose of this magazine is what? The
purpose of the magazine is results.
Okay.
We're looking to become that premier resource to guide these dentists and their teams towards effective and profitable practices.
Okay, good. So this is, and so when people look at your magazine, like you say, results, that means you want them to read an article, get some tips that they could use in their practice.
Absolutely.
Okay, so give me a profile of the future as far as content. What's going to be in there?
We talk about every element of the practice. So we start maybe with, it's interesting. Our subscribers range from the brand new dentist who just graduated and has opened his doors within a couple of weeks ago. We have people who are in highly successful practices who are high producing, profitable as they are, but still wanting to learn and stay on that competitive edge.
So we want to pick it up a notch a little bit.
Exactly. So we have a pretty wide audience for what we do, but the goal is always to take what they're doing and expand on the knowledge that they have to become more effective, more productive, and kick it up a notch.
Now you're also together with Progressive Orthodontist magazine.
Correct. A couple of years ago, my partner in the business approached me and had already started the Progressive Orthodontist magazine. Great magazine, same concept as far as teaching the business of orthodontics. He is an orthodontist, so he's got a unique perspective into what's missing in running a practice so many times. We got to talking, and I realized that the last 20 years has kind of led to this same philosophy. This is exactly what I wanted to do, is to help bridge that gap and make people better business people to run effective practices. Okay,
so he made you an offer you couldn't refuse?
He did.
And now you have a magazine.
And now we have two. Now we have the Progressive Orthodontist and we have the Progressive Dentist.
So your title officially is owner and executive editor. So you do the editing, look at content?
I do. I screen our content and work with our contributors our advertisers, and so I kind of have my fingers in the whole thing.
I tried to do some research on your industry before you got here, okay? And it seems that you're about, and I'm not trying to side here with you, but I think you're about the only magazine that the 100% focus is on the business of dentistry. Is that true? Basically?
It is true.
Okay.
There are some phenomenal magazines out there. There's
right.
great resources for dental practices and any dental specialty. There's a lot of good content out there. But what we have found is that there's not anyone else out there who's exclusively focused on the business of running a practice.
Okay,
so
good.
we don't really talk about teeth. We don't talk about the clinical part of a practice.
Right.
They know that stuff. They're great and they're prepared for that. So what we talk about is the business behind what runs and what
And
what
your
makes
current
it.
cover, tell me about that.
Hugh Flax is the doctor on the new cover of the Progressive Dentist magazine. He's been in the industry for over 20 years. He's highly respected in cosmetic dentistry and has a booming practice. He's highly successful, but he's also one of those guys that never stops learning. So he's our kind of guy. He's
So
the
he
guy
gives
that's out
tips in
there
the magazine?
Oh, well, we talk about him. People know Hugh Flax. They know who he is, and what we wanted to do to have a little fun with this cover is to introduce them to the man behind the practice.
Okay.
So this is an inside look at who he is as a person rather than who he is clinically, because people know that. His reputation is something that everyone's familiar with.
Now, your initial launch was what, 25,000 dentists?
Right.
Tell me how that went.
It went remarkably well, and we were pleasantly surprised with the response that we got from it. We sent the magazine out initially to 25,000 dentists across the country, and have had feedback or have had new subscribers as a result from over 10,000 of them.
10,000 people. Really? I mean, so they email you back, we want more, they like. Were you surprised, by the way, at the response? Because that is a big response.
You know, intuitively, you hope you're on track and you hope that that's the case, but I was so amazed at the quick response that we got with the first issue. We've gotten emails, and I'll tell you one of the emails that I got maybe 2 weeks after we released the first edition, and it was, you know, I was thinking about doing this with my practice, and one article in your first edition of the magazine just saved me the biggest frustration of my career.
Really?
That's what we want to hear. That's how we know that we're really hitting the mark that we set out to establish.
Now you say effectiveness can be learned. It's a habit.
Absolutely.
Elaborate on that.
There's so much that you can do to improve on a daily basis. We all know what we know, and what we've found, and I think we're all guilty of this, myself included. It's not about what you know, it's about what you do with that. It's what you do. And so many of these dentists have spent astronomical amounts of money on their clinical education.
On the training, yeah.
And they're proud of that, and they should be, and they're able to share that with their patients and build a practice from that. With what some of them have the challenge with is implementing the strategy behind the scenes at the practice.
And I hear it all the time. I mean, with the Wellness Hour, with these televised show that they air in their local markets, they get frustrated. I mean, I hear this, and they'll say, I've spent $100,000 worth of training, and I can't attract that type of patient to my practice. But then I'll talk to another guy in the same area that says, Randy, I have no problem attracting that patient. It's about my systems. It's about what we're doing in social media and advertising and et cetera with the staff.
Absolutely.
And do you believe that? So
I wholeheartedly believe that. I think it's a matter of taking what you know and building on that, and never feeling that you know it all. There's so many experts out there. There's so many people who we are fortunate to count among our contributors. These people are experts in their field, whether they're consultants or whether they're dentists, or whether they're on the corporate side of dentistry where I come from. They've seen it all. They know what happens, whether it's social media, like you said, whether it's new marketing trends. You just don't ever stop learning.
Now, you talked, or we talked yesterday, and you said they're going to meet the same amount of patients next week as they did last week. If they read our magazine, our goal is that they're more effective with every patient.
Exactly. And so,
do you think that'll happen? Well, it's a big goal.
I've seen it happen.
Goal.
I've seen it happen already in the 2 years with the Progressive Orthodontist magazine. I can see it happening now. You may not, in a certain area, increase your number of patients, but you can be more effective in getting them to accept the treatment that you prescribe by knowing how to work the other side of the equation. You have to be able to get them in the door and then make them comfortable enough to complete treatment with
So
it.
now, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's kind of like, when I listen to this, like a best practices magazine. I mean, you're going to be sharing best practices from dental offices across the country.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
And we talk about, here's something that I find really unique about our publication, and it's something that I really get excited about. Human nature so often is to brush under the rug anything that we've done badly. If you've made a mistake, we don't want to advertise that. We don't want to talk about that. I did something really stupid, and I don't want that to be public knowledge. There's such an element of sharing with a publication like this, and I think there's a lot of reasons for it, but we talk about our mistakes. We talk about the things that we messed up and really did wrong. The interesting thing is, with every edition of the magazine, we get emails and we get phone calls from other dentists, from other consultants who want to share those stories. Here's something I did. Here's what I really went off track on.
That's good.
And we learn so much more from our mistakes and our failures sometimes than we do from our successes. Those lessons are hard wired to, we understand that we learn a lot from our mistakes.
Now, I send this marketing report around, and sometimes I'll get 80 people or 150 people, but the people that watch, and I want to know if it's like that with your magazine, the people that watch my marketing report religiously, it's never the real small slumping practice. It's the guy doing $10 million a year in his practice, $8 million. It seems like the most successful guys are the people that are the most thirsty for that competitive edge.
That's why
do you find that with the people that love this, your magazine, same kind of thing?
I do. I think it's the progressive thinkers, the guys that
the progressive dentists.
Absolutely. That's the guys that benefit the most. They're successful today because they've never stopped learning. They're successful because it's never enough. They're never satisfied and complacent with where they are. They want to take it to the next level, and we can help them do that.
Couldn't somebody argue, though, a magazine, everything's paperless. Do people want to read magazines?
They do want to read magazines.
Okay.
And so there's two sides to that. Here's some exciting news too. As of our first edition of 2012, we will be fully digital as well.
Okay.
So there'll be two ways to get the magazine. We thought about going completely digital and not producing a print magazine. And we were begged right off the bat by the people that we polled, don't do away with the print magazine. I love to disconnect.
Yeah.
If you think about these guys and their practices every day, they're looking at monitors, they're looking at photos, they're looking at really small details all day, every day. And they really just want to break away from that computer or the phone or whatever it is, pick up a magazine and go sit in a corner
Maybe
somewhere.
have a cup of coffee or whatever.
Exactly. Take it out to the beach.
I asked a few of my friends. I said, I asked America's pharmacists. I said, what do you think about? They go, yeah, I want a magazine when I'm on an airplane or whatever.
Exactly. Well,
it's interesting.
Being progressive and living up to our name, we wanted to do what our readers wanted. We want to deliver it in a way that they
give them a break from their computer.
Exactly, and that's what we heard a resounding appreciation for, was the fact that they liked the magazine. It's done in a way that I think one of the other differences with the magazine is all of our contributors are well-known experts in the field of dentistry, and some of them just from the business world. They're not all dental consultants or dentists themselves, but these are well-known experts in their fields, whether that be social media or whether it's marketing in general, whether it's finances, taxes, wealth management, all of those type of topics. But we ask them to write for our publication differently than they do for any other publication.
Okay, good.
And that is that when our readers pick up the magazine, we want it to be a conversation. We want it to be just like this. We want to be able to say, if I had this expert in my practice, what would that be like? And so by having them write in a very conversational style, it gives them a little bit of an insight into what it would truly be like to hire that expert personally.
I spoke at Loma Linda University to a dental class, and it's amazing, the doctor as the entrepreneur, that sometimes their identity isn't that they're really running a business. And there's a lot of business lessons that, and I will tell you something else, that when I have the luxury, of course, over the last 13 years to go inside some of the most successful practices and the slumping practices, and the most successful practices are those that study business.
Absolutely.
They interesting. I'll say, hey, did you read the newest book? Did you listen to Crush It? Did you what are you doing? They're calling Rita Zamora, and they're already successful, but
they're successful because they rely on outside experts to help them become better.
And they may read the whole magazine, I'm sure, and only get one little tidbit.
It might be
that potentially could.
If you pick up each edition of the magazine and get one takeaway from that edition that saves you time or saves you money or keeps you from making a bigger mistake or introduces you to the right consultant or the right advisor, the right expert, it's worth it.
I've only read one of your articles in your magazine, and well written. I mean, good stuff.
Thank
Everyday
you.
language, very nice. Your partner, you know, we should mention about your partner too, because this guy's one of the most successful. People don't know this probably. I'm letting out of the bag here. I hope he's not mad at me. But he's, you know, as far as orthodontics or orthodontal practices, am I saying that correctly?
Orthodontic practices.
Orthodontic practices. He's probably in the top 5%. So
he's got a
he
booming
also
practice.
will, as an advisory board. I mean, he's going to look at some of the content because you got to be careful who you're taking advice from too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sure. And there are a lot of people who claim to be experts out there. There are a lot of people who have maybe different insights. But what we've also learned is that sometimes it's the experts in business, or like I said, in dentistry and specifically. But sometimes we learn the biggest lessons from each other.
Okay.
So we have orthodontists and we have dentists and we have, you know, in every specialty of the industry that learn from each other. You know, here's the mistake I made. Here's what I consider doing, and I was talked into doing this a little differently.
You know, I'm learning that, or I'm finding that the oral surgeons, the periodontists, people that didn't have to really study marketing, are coming forward and really getting aggressive with their understanding of business.
They are,
and marketing and advertising.
Interestingly, if you go back 10 years ago, it was totally taboo and unaccepted for a dentist to do any sort of marketing. It just was not done. It was unacceptable, and it was
plus
considered,
they didn't have to, right?
Well, I think they probably should have.
Okay.
But I think it was a socially unaccepted practice for a dentist to market his practice.
Yeah.
And so now we find ourselves in this competitive market where we're businesses just like everybody else. A dental practice is still a business. And to let your competition do all the things to pave the way to success, and then you to hang back and just kind of take what's left over just doesn't make sense.
But you charge a subscription when most publications are free. Why?
It is different, and it's because we're driven by content. I never wanted to be 100% supported by our advertisers.
Okay, good.
I love the companies.
Makes sense.
It is different. We have advertising in our magazines, but we are...
Can you buy the cover?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Not today, not ever.
Well, good for you.
Our magazine is focused on the content, and the reason we charge a subscription is
it's not a lot of money, by the way.
It's not a lot of money. It's $139 for a year. And basically what that does to produce a magazine like this is expensive. It's not an easy thing to do.
Educational. Yeah.
And it's all about the education. You're not going to pick up this magazine and see a dozen ads. You're going to see a lot of content, a lot of continuing education on the business side of a practice. And sprinkled in, you're going to see a little bit of information from an advertiser that we know has effectively helped to produce stronger practices. So if there's an ad in there, I totally believe in what they're doing.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
But this allows me to focus on the content and what the subscribers really need and want to hear.
Because I asked you about your advertising and buying advertising. You're also doing something, you know, where only like an exclusivity kind of a thing per magazine. Tell me about that. Help me. Because
we don't have a lot of ads in each magazine, it's made it really possible for us to focus on categories. So if I have an advertiser in addition who's talking about a whitening product, for instance, I'm not going to have another advertiser that's a direct competitor. We're going to specifically give them an audience within that edition. So by limiting the number of ads, it really gives them a much stronger exposure to our readers.
Why is it relevant now in this economy to have a magazine like this?
I think something like this is relevant in any economy, but right now it's competitive out there, and I don't care if it's dentistry or if it's any other field. It's a competitive landscape, and we all need to be better. We all need to be as effective as we can be in reaching our prospective patients.
How proud are you of this magazine, by the way?
You can probably tell I'm a little proud of this. I think we've achieved something beyond what we initially expected to happen with this, and it's such an exciting thing for us to see that what has always been this concept, and we felt like there was a market for this. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, so I'm thrilled.
We had lunch, and in front of your husband, you said, "Randy, for the first time in my life, I absolutely love what I do."
I do.
What do you like most about it?
I love to see the results as they happen.
With doctors reading it, taken your advice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. There's something very satisfying about walking in at the end of the day to an email or a text message or a phone call going, Bonnie, this is incredible. Here's what happened today. I had a patient walk in and we just read this article in the last edition of the magazine, and because of that, we responded different to this scenario with this patient, and they're on board. They started treatment like that.
Could this be, I'm sitting here, I'm big on training and education and ongoing training, but, dentists that I talk to, they have their Monday morning meetings, Friday morning meetings, or whatever, weekly meetings. So I always say, get a publication, get a sales book, open it up, and have a discussion about a particular article. Do you see that happening?
We see it happen a lot. In fact, right before I came out here, it's funny that you asked that.
Okay.
Because I had a dentist who had just read the magazine, and he wasn't even one of our initial 25,000.
Okay.
He was given a copy by a friend of his, and there was an article geared towards communication with his team. And it was used as the springboard for his team meeting, and it's been something that his team's excited about now. So they look forward to the next edition because that's the basis for their team meetings.
Okay, good. So start studying, I say on past marketing reports that either study business or be replaced by a competitor that is studying business.
Exactly.
So either you read Progressive Dentist magazine or be replaced by a dentist that's reading the magazine.
Who's reading Progressive
That's
Dentist
a bold
magazine.
statement. But do you kind of secretly believe that? I mean,
Yeah, I really do.
Okay,
I think
so
this is
content
something
rich.
highly content focused, and it will always be that way. And I think it's something that is going to certainly evolve as we go through this, but it's going to evolve based on the feedback from our readers. So it's going to, no matter what happens with the economy or what happens with the market itself, we're always going to be proactive and not reactive to what's going on in the competitive landscape of dentistry. So we're out there trying to make sure that we get the most effective experts.
Okay.
And like I said, the dentists themselves who have powerful stories to share about their own experiences can be a great education for others.
How do you get a subscription to the magazine?
You can go to
I'll put titling at the bottom of this.
Okay.
Where
So
do they go?
You can go to our website,
which
is the prodentist.com.
Prodentist.com.
And there's a subscription form there. You can call us, you can email us, but the easiest way is through the website, theprodentist.com.
And they'll get one, and how often does it come out?
It's a quarterly magazine.
Okay.
So you'll get one issue each quarter. We incidentally did consider going to a monthly publication, and our subscribers have said, there's so much content here that I need this quarter to get through it.
So the feedback is, I'm always skeptical on all my shows, and I get accused of being too skeptical and interrupting and everything else. But you're really getting feedback where people are saying this magazine was fantastic. I mean, from people you don't know, because your friends will always say they love it.
Well, of course, and my best friends are the ones who I rely on to say, hey, Bonnie, I think you missed the mark here.
Okay.
I want to hear that too, but we haven't heard that to this point. It's been very positive in terms of the response we've gotten. And so yeah, we're looking forward to not only helping dental practices to become progressive dental practices, but we're progressing ourselves.
So bridging the gap between the practice of dentistry and the business of dentistry. So this is business development, how to run a business. All of that is what the content is going to be.
Exactly.
With as little advertising as you financially can do, because you're subscription based.
Correct.
Did I get it right, by the way?
You did. You did.
All right.
So yes, we are a subscription-based publication. It allows us to provide the level of content that we provide on a regular basis. It's also the type of thing that has allowed us to become both a print magazine and a digital magazine.
Now, what
So
about
we're
you on the
looking forward to
speaking
that.
circuit? Because I mean, now that you're the publisher of the magazine, and you get all these insights. Now you're going to be interviewing all these doctors.
Right.
Are people already starting to ask you to talk
Some,
to their groups?
We've had a number of study groups that have asked for me to come in and talk about teaching the business of dentistry.
Okay.
And so that's exciting too. It's a progression.
All right.
So,
I want to thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
program.
you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that's this week's Randy Alvarez Marketing Report. We'll see you next week.